Alright guys, so today we're going to talk a little bit about average speed. We already kind of touched on this when we looked at the difference between speed, velocity, and acceleration, but when y'all were doing that work, all you needed to do to see if you could differentiate or distinguish between the three and understand that one has just the speed, so distance and time. The other one had speed plus direction, which was velocity, and then acceleration was a change in speed or a change in direction, or both. So now we're just going to look at how to calculate average speed. So what is average speed? Well, it's a measurement of how far something travels, so the distance something goes, and how long it takes to go there, so the time. So this average speed has a formula, and if you have your formula chart, then I'll attach it once again so y'all can look at it again. But on the STAR formula chart, it has a speed formula, which is average speed is equal to total distance traveled divided by the total time involved. In other words, speed is equal to distance divided by time, or average speed is. So you see it there written a couple of different ways. So that's your formula you're going to use. Speed is equal to distance divided by time, or S is equal to D by T. So let's look at some units that are used for distance. You might have meters, kilometers, or miles, but you could also have centimeters, inches, feet. So there's a variety of different units for distance. And then time units, the most common ones used in science are seconds, minutes, or hours, but then you could also measure time in days, years, and decades, and so forth. So when you get to the speed unit itself, so remember, speed is distance divided by time, so you could see miles per hour, kilometers per hour, meters per hour, you could see meters per second, centimeters per second. So all of those are common speed units. So whatever the distance is measured in, you're going to take that and divide it by whatever time unit it has, and that's going to give you the answer for speed, or a unit for speed. So the formula triangle for speed looks as follows. So we are dividing in this formula, so we're going to start by putting distance and time. Distance goes at the top because it's divided by time, and then in the empty part of the triangle we'll put S for speed, and that's how you would set up your formula triangle. Because remember, you will probably be calculating distance and time as well, so you need to know how to set up your equation so that you can calculate. And remember, you can always use a calculator when you're calculating. Alright, so here's some formula triangles where I've kind of highlighted how you would calculate for something other than speed itself. So the one that is shaded in dark red or brick red is the one you're calculating for. And remember, whatever's in the top of the triangle, which is distance for this formula, is always divided by whatever's on the bottom. So if you wanted to calculate distance, you'd multiply speed by time because the two bottom portions of the triangle are multiplied. If you wanted to calculate time, you'd have to divide distance by speed. And if you wanted to calculate speed, you have to divide distance by time. So what you need to do is put the units that you're given in the problem into their correct locations. Then put your finger over the missing unit to see what you need to do if you need to multiply or divide. So first of all, you need to look at your problem, your calculation problem, and jot down any information you're already given, whatever it is, if it's speed, distance, or time. Then put that information into your formula triangle, complete the calculations using a calculator, and then look at the units. So depending on the units you were given, that's how you'll get a unit for your answer. So if practice a little bit. So here's an example problem. If I drove 200 miles in 5 hours, what was my average speed? So I have my triangle. I know I have miles, so miles is distance, so 200 would have to go into my formula triangle at the top where distance is, and I have time. I know that speed is equal to distance divided by time, so when I see that in the formula triangle where it's placed, I have to divide 200 by 5, and if you do that, you come up with 40 miles. Where did I get miles from? Well, I drove 200 miles, so that's miles, and the time unit was hours, so I drove 40 miles per hour. Let's try another. Lori's speed was 30 miles per hour. She rode her bike at a distance of 60 miles. So we have speed here and distance. 30 miles per hour was her speed, so remember there's our hour unit, and she rode her bike a distance of 60 miles. I'm going to put that in, and I know I have to divide 60 by 30, and the time involved then was 2 hours. It took me called 5 minutes to get to Starbucks. Her speed was 50 miles per hour. How far did she go? Let's get our formula triangle up there first. Sorry about that. So let's look at it. So she took 5 minutes. 5 minutes is time, so we're doing minutes for time. Her speed was 50 miles per hour. So, in this instance, we're calculating for her distance. So we know she went 50 miles per hour, so distance will be in miles. We know that her speed was 50 and time was 5, so we get multiplied, and we end up with 250 miles per hour. So we're going to do some practice calculations here in the future, so just make sure that you're understanding this. If not, please let me know, and we will practice a little bit more. All right, you guys, miss y'all. Have a wonderful day.